Have you ever had someone in your life where nothing was ever clearly said, and yet everything somehow felt understood? No confession, no label, no defining moment you could point to, just a quiet awareness that something meaningful existed between you. You noticed them without trying. They seemed to notice you too, and in the space between words, something real began to grow. But neither of you spoke first, and that silence, that strange, delicate silence, started to feel heavy. If you're in that space right now with someone where the connection feels obvious but unconfirmed, I want you to pause and hear this. Silence between two people who feel something is not emptiness. It's tension. It's protection. It's longing waiting for safety. And while nothing is being said out loud, there are deep psychological processes unfolding between you, quietly shaping how you see each other, how you feel, and why neither of you has stepped forward yet. So let's talk about what's really happening when two people feel it. But don't say it. 1. You're both protecting something that already feels valuable when someone is only mildly interesting to us. We don't hesitate much. We text. We ask. We risk. We move. Because there isn't much to lose. But when someone begins to matter, truly matter, our behavior changes in a subtle but powerful way. We slow down. Not because we don't want connection, but because we started to value it. There's a psychological tension called approach avoidance conflict. It happens when something we deeply want also carries the possibility of emotional loss. The closer we feel to it, the more conflicted we become about moving toward it. And that's where many unspoken connections live. You want to step closer, but you also want to protect what already exists. Because right now, in silence, the possibility is intact. Nothing has been rejected. Nothing has been lost. Nothing has changed. The moment someone speaks, certainty enters. And certainty, no matter how beautiful, always carries risk. So you hover. And so do they, not because the feeling is small, but because it has grown large enough to be worth protecting. 2. Your silence is communicating more than either of you realizes. Humans are extraordinarily skilled at reading emotional signals that are never verbalized. We read presence, attention, timing, energy shifts. You notice when they enter a room. They notice when you leave. You remember details about them. They remember things about you. These are not accidents. They're signals. And even when nothing explicit is said, the nervous system registers meaning. You both sense the same pattern. You linger slightly longer in conversation. They hold eye contact just a moment more. Your tone softens around them. Theirs changes around you. Neither of you names it, but both of you feel it. So the silence between you is not neutral. It's quietly saying, I feel something here, and I'm being careful with it. And that message lands, even without words. 3. Your mind has begun attaching emotional significance to them. At some point, and this often happens without awareness, they become someone your brain tags differently. You think of them during unrelated moments. You connect memories to them. You imagine conversations that never happened. You replay ones that did. This is how attachment begins forming. The brain builds associative pathways around emotionally meaningful people. Their name, their voice, their expressions, their approval, all start carrying weight. So when you find them return into your thoughts, that's not random. It's your mind recognizing importance. And if they feel similarly, their brain is doing the same. Two people slowly becoming significant in each other's internal worlds, without ever formally acknowledging it. That's why the connection feels hard to dismiss, because internally, it's already real. 4. Neither of you is waiting for certainty. You're waiting for safety. They assume, if someone really felt it, they'd act immediately. But human vulnerability rarely works that way. The more emotionally meaningful someone feels, the more carefully we look for reassurance before exposing our feelings. You're not waiting for guarantees. You're not waiting for perfection. You're waiting for a sign that your openness won't destroy what exists. You're waiting for warmth, receptivity, permission. And here's the strange symmetry of unspoken connection. They are likely waiting for the exact same thing. Two people, each hoping the other will make it safe first. So both remain still, not from lack of feeling, but from equal depth of it. 5. The quiet itself begins to intensify the bond. There's a common belief that feelings fade when they're not expressed. Sometimes they do. But when connection is genuine, silence can have the opposite effect. It concentrates attention. Every interaction becomes charged with meaning. Small moments feel larger. Ordinary conversations feel layered. A simple glance carries unspoken context, because when something meaningful is not defined, the mind fills the space with possibility. And possibility is powerful. So instead of dissolving, the connection often deepens internally. You carry them privately. They carry you privately. And over time, the presence of that unspoken awareness becomes undeniable to both of you. 6. Fear of loss becomes stronger than desire for movement. Here's one of the most human truths about attachment. We fear losing something meaningful, more than we desire gaining it. So once someone begins to matter, the risk calculation changes. If you say nothing, you keep them in your life as they are. If you speak, you could gain something beautiful or lose everything familiar. That uncertainty feels enormous when the person already holds emotional weight. So hesitation grows, not because you don't want closeness, but because you don't want absence. And often, they are balancing that same equation. 7. Your self-worth quietly enters the equation. Unspoken connection doesn't exist in isolation. It interacts with self-perception. Questions arise silently. Do they feel the same? Am I imagining this? Would speaking risk embarrassment? What if I care more? These doubts don't necessarily reflect reality. They reflect vulnerability. Because revealing feelings means allowing another person to influence how we see ourselves. So people who feel deeply often hesitate deeply, not from insecurity alone, but from awareness of emotional stakes. 8. But here is what you must not misunderstand. Your hesitation does not make your feelings weak. Your caution does not make you inadequate. Your depth does not make you too much. In fact, the ability to perceive connection before certainty is emotional sensitivity, not flaw. You recognize meaning before confirmation. You felt significance before permission. That is not foolishness. It is perception. 9. And here is the truth about being chosen. Every human heart deserves clarity eventually. Mutual silence can hold beauty for a time, but lasting connection cannot live there forever. Because love, at its healthiest, moves toward openness, toward knowing, toward choosing, toward being chosen. You deserve someone who does not remain behind uncertainty indefinitely. Someone who meets you in honesty. Not perfectly, not fearlessly, but willingly. Because when connection is truly shared and readiness aligns, someone steps forward, and the silence ends. 10. If you are in this space right now, if their presence feels different from others, if your interactions carry quiet weight, you are not imagining meaning. Human beings are remarkably accurate at sensing emotional reciprocity. You may not know the outcome. You may not know timing. You may not know whether paths align. But the feeling itself, that recognition of significance, is rarely one-sided when it feels this mutual. And regardless of what happens next, your capacity to feel this way is not something to regret. It is evidence that your heart recognizes value.